Welcome to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and the founder of the Write Your Own Story company. Girl, I can tell you right now, you are definitely enough. Here we value service, sisterhood, connection, laughter, and that super genuine, keep it real, tell you like it is honesty. My hope is at the end of each episode, you realize you can do whatever it is you dream about and that you are not alone with what you struggle with. I'm hoping that you are snapping and clapping and hell yes in your way through each one of these episodes. So if this tracks with you, let's get started. I'm so glad you're here. All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Write Your Own Story podcast. I'm your host, Betsy Leonidas, and I'm here with a dear friend, Ashley Fullarton.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
It's moments like this where I pause and I'm like, how did I get so lucky to I feel when we were talking about this before we started recording, I don't know how I get so lucky to have so many amazing women in my life that get to sit on this couch with me and have honest, real conversation. And I'm like, I feel like I am so lucky to have a community of people that I never run out of people that I want to talk to.
Yeah.
And when you reached out and were like, I think this would be an important topic, I was like, hell yes, come sit on the couch with me. So we are here today to talk about co-parenting. Both of us are divorced.
Mm-hmm.
You have 2 kids. I've got 4. And this is a really important conversation because co-parenting is hard, but I feel like we've done a lot of work and so have our partners to make it it's a positive experience. And for those, I like to start off every show with an intention. And we talked about this. And really for those who are going through it right now, whether you're in the process of getting divorced, you're thinking about getting divorced, or you're newly divorced and you're co-parenting, we know what that feels like. And it feels awful and you're terrified. But we really want to provide hope that you really can get to a great place with co-parenting. And we've got some great insight as to how to get there. And then also, I think it's important for those who aren't divorced to really have some better understanding and some empathy. Not that they aren't empathetic to begin with, but just better understanding for what the co-parents are going through, what the kids are going through, how they can be supportive community members, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this is important stuff to talk about. And when you said that, I was like, yes, let's do it. So thank you for being here. And thank you for coming up with the idea.
Absolutely.
I feel like this mic is staring at me in the corner of my eye. So I'm just going to adjust. I was like, I can't see out of my peripheral vision. And with someone with ADHD, I'm like, there's a thing. There's a thing.
What is it?
Squirrel staring at me. Okay. So how I know Ashley, we worked together at Dunnhumby.
Mm-hmm.
That was how long ago?
Jeez.
Pre-kids, right?
Pre-kids.
Yeah.
I started there in 2006. So it's been a long time.
I feel like I started there maybe 2010.
Yeah.
And then at Dunnhumby, 8451, the whole shebang. So, we were pregnant together.
Yes. At the same time with our oldest.
Yeah.
Sitting next to each other. Cause I thought I can work and be a first-time mom, and I'm going to try junior league. And
oh my God, I forgot about junior league. We both were
sitting next to you in one of the meetings and in that at their place, and it was super hot, and just being like, we can't wait for the babies.
I know. Yeah, totally. We're such silly gooses.
I know. I went for the baby and not the junior league.
Same girl, same. I was like, thank you, junior league, but I definitely can't do it.
No,
can't do it. The rule number 1, girls, is edit your life.
That's right.
Oh my God. But it is I've always loved, I don't think we've ever been assigned to the same projects.
We weren't.
But we just
different
teams. But I just so enjoyed orbiting around you. You can always tell when someone's kind of same energy. And a girl's girl and, a fellow badass. And I don't know. I just was like, yeah, she's awesome. So, and our friend, neither of us we haven't worked together for, I don't know, long time now. Yeah. Maybe since Eli and Adeline were born. So
probably
almost a decade, but we continue to stay in touch. And then how the world works, silly world, is it put us on this divorce journey together. And I'm so grateful to have you always in my corner, always cheering for me because you went first. Sorry, I had to go first.
Somebody's got to.
And then, similar to how you have done for me, I try and extend my hand to those who come after me because that's what we do is we help the people after us.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for all of your support through such a difficult time because truly that's just what divorce is.
Yeah.
You're the best.
Oh, thank you.
Literally.
So are you.
And you're a queen. Do you mind giving, I like to put every guest on the spot and get them real sweaty just from the start. Do you mind giving us just a quick rundown or bio? Just tell us about you.
Yeah. Yep. So mom, 2 kids, got a 13-year-old and a 9-year-old. So that's, a good time.
Yeah.
Girl and a boy.
This is like all new stages.
All new stages. There's always a new stage. There's always something.
Right.
Yep. Yep.
Uh-huh.
Which, add that to the list of things nobody ever told me.
Literally.
Right.
It's an incredibly long list.
It's a long list. I have lots of thoughts there, but we can do that another
I have
time.
notes. I have
I have plenty of notes. Yeah.
Notes.
I'll Post-it notes everywhere. Like you said, have worked at Dunnhumby, worked at 8451, took a brief stint, went to another place. Now I'm back at Dunnhumby. So so I've kind of stayed in that whole orbit, but it's great and I enjoy it. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Seriously, thank you for being here. I know you literally took time off of work to be here. I know this is your weekend without your kids, which I know you and I both so prioritize rest. So I know the sacrifices it took to get here, and I really genuinely appreciate it.
I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so before we get into co-parenting, I think if we really ground ourselves in who this episode is dedicated for, really for those people who are going through it, whether they're in sort of the start or the middle, or now you're officially divorced and we're officially co-parenting.
Yep,
it's just so emotionally charged.
It is. I think it's whether you're the one making the decision or it's, your partner that's done it.
Yeah.
It's definitely, it's all the emotions. It is 100% a roller coaster. Yes. And I think that the biggest thing, in my situation, I was the one that initiated it. And that's not for lack of trying on both of our parts. Absolutely. It was just time.
Right.
But I think one of the things that I don't think people talk about as much, or people don't realize, even if you're in the thick of it now, is the afterwards is just the sheer grief. It is. Somebody had once said that it is like a death. When your marriage is over, it's like a death. And I think that it's hard to figure out how to work through that.
Yeah.
Again, regardless of how the situation came to be.
Because it's not a literal death, but it was till death do you part.
Yeah.
And then that died. So and then culturally, when someone, my best friend is a widow, and I've seen her grief.
Yeah.
And it's tangible for those on the outside to see, because oh my gosh, she's lost her husband.
Right.
And she has it worse. Full stop.
Oh, sure.
Full stop.
Yeah, totally.
But truly, there is so much grief to the loss of your partner for the rest of your life that you signed up for. Yep. No matter what the circumstances cause your marriage to end, whether it be amicable or anything else.
Right.
It is so incredibly painful.
Yes, it really is. And I think that when you think about how to manage through that, you have to give your time, just like with anything where grief is involved. Yeah. You have to give yourself time to grieve and work through it. Yeah. Because if you push it aside, it makes doing anything else, damn near impossible.
Absolutely. Yeah. I've talked about grief with Lauren on the show, and it is it's messy, it's sneaky, it comes in waves. Yep. They come in all shapes and sizes. Yeah, they come at the most inconvenient times.
Oh, totally.
But if you can't control it, so you just have to surrender to it.
Yeah. You're right. And it's sneaky too. Right. And something that seems like it would be obvious that it would hit you, but didn't hit me or I didn't think about it, was I went home for a wedding of one of my sister's friends, and okay, I'm going to this wedding. It's fine. I think it was the first wedding I attended post. Yeah. And I remember just sitting there in the church, and my sister was sitting next to me, and they started, I can't remember what part it was, but maybe their vows and stuff. And I'm actually
going to cry right now.
Lost it. Yeah. I just silently sat there, because I was people just think I'm happy, happy for them, but my sister knew. She immediately grabbed my hand, but it was just I didn't think about it. No. I just didn't think about which I guess is silly in hindsight, but I was just like, I'm just going to go to this wedding and it's going to be fine.
You're like, I can't wait to have cocktails and dance and hang out with my sister. Weddings are so fun.
It's going to be so fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then the vows come and you're
boom.
like, I took those.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about this a little bit off camera too, but one of the other big feelings that no one seems to be brave enough to talk about, except for you and me, we're so silly, is shame.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's a big one.
Yeah.
That no matter the circumstances, even if it's amicable, the shame that you couldn't keep those vows or that it just genuinely isn't working. There's so much shame, or the shame that like as a parent, like all of it.
Yeah. I think that was one of the biggest things, like the grief part. Like I said, I was fortunate enough that I happened to have heard that before. So I a little bit prepared, but not really. But the shame part, I didn't expect to feel. And I think in part, it's just, I like working at dunnhumby at the time. I worked at a place where people knew my partner. People knew, like all that stuff.
We were so young that like we all hung out and went to bars together and like baby showers. And I mean, we did everything together. The culture there was amazing. It was so inclusive, but you're great. Right. You're right.
Yes. And so I think it was, that part of it, took me a long time. And honestly, I can't even tell you, it's probably been just in the last like few recent years that I've really kind of pushed that aside.
Yeah.
Because it's not something people talk about.
No.
And I think if you're in it and you're like, whether you're thinking about it, you're in the thick of it, it's just hard to talk. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
But I think you have to talk about it.
Yeah. To realize that it's really not yours to own.
Right.
That like it shouldn't really apply to the situation. It is not for lack of trying.
Right.
No,
it's not.
You did your best. It just, and it's also so much of it, again, no matter the circumstances, is not in your control.
Right.
So I don't know. It's, but it is a common feeling for sure. So I don't know, for anyone who can, who is in that moment, give it time, but let it pass.
Yeah.
That's the only advice I have.
I know. I think it's, you were talking about, dunnhumby in the community we had. And I think that's one thing that you have to be okay with letting your guard down too a little bit.
Ooh, good one.
Because, and whether that's with friends, with family, I mean, you have to just, it's a hard thing to do. I mean, even I very close knit family. Yeah. And it was hard to tell my parents.
Yes. Oh, I'll
and
never
my sister,
forget that
like,
conversation.
I'm like,
yes,
it's no more, you you just can't do it. And it sucked. And it sucks. It feels like a punch in the gut and everywhere else.
Yeah.
But it's important because you're going to need it.
Yeah. And like, I think before we get into co-parenting and the reason that we talk about this is to level set that before we can even get into considering the kids and thinking about them, like you have to acknowledge everything that you're going through as well.
Yeah.
And that your partner is going through as well, even when you don't want to acknowledge anything about them, because let's face it, when you're breaking up, like you don't want to be a part of their lives.
Right.
In the beginning.
Yeah. It's hard. And
it's so emotionally charged.
So emotionally charged. Yeah. Everybody is hurt, upset, angry, all the things.
Yes.
And I mean, there's nothing smooth or,
no, it would be so much easier if you never had to talk to them again.
Right.
But you do.
Right.
And they're the parent of your children.
Yes.
So they are important.
Yes. And they are important for the kids.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and this is all things like everybody's safe and, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But like,
Lots of caveats.
At the end of the day, that is your child's mother or father. Yeah. And you have to find a way to put all that stuff like on the back burner because it has to be about what's going to be the best thing for them. And it's the hardest fucking thing to do.
Literally the hardest thing to do. It is like, it goes against all of your instincts because all of your instincts, again, like this is, my ex and I are in a good place. We totally like, we can hang out together. Yep. Absolutely no problem. Like, but, and I'm sure he would say the same thing. I would have given anything to not have him be around at the time of an incredibly painful breakup. Like that's just like people breaking up. That's just honest conversation that, but you, like you said, you have to back burner it and you have to do a lot of work on yourself.
Yeah.
But it's worth it.
It is.
It's so worth it.
It will help you get on the other side of it, I think, faster.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't speed it up. You have to, like you said, like you have to feel your feelings and you have to do all those things.
Yeah.
But it will help you get to a better place.
Yes.
Whatever that looks like for you.
Yeah.
I worked with a therapist for a while.
Same.
Like, again, talk about it. If that's therapy, great. If that's friends, if that's, as long as it's a place where you can get that stuff out and work through it, journal, whatever works for you.
I did all the things.
Yeah.
Find resources.
Mm-hmm.
I was just talking to a friend on the last podcast, Hillary, in totally different circumstances, but her daughter is medically fragile. And like, so she chooses to find hopeful stories to focus on. And I continue to think about that. Like, find people to look as a beacon of hope, to be like, okay, you're doing okay. Like, fine. And like, I reached out to people to be like, will you be my divorce mentor? Like, basically, like, how do I do this? How do I get to a better place? And I can't tell you, like, for anyone who's been through a hard time, everyone's like, I'll help you. Yep. Right. Let's go for a walk. Let's grab a drink. Let's go to coffee. Like, I think that is so important. But so just kind of honoring to those listening who are in the thick of it, like, your feelings are so valid. And there are so many more feelings that I'm sure we're not even addressing.
Oh, yeah.
But that, like, it is big and complicated. And for those who are not divorced, but have people in your community who are getting divorced, just, they're never going to be a good version of themselves right now. Hillary also said in the last episode, like, when friends, like, it's like watering flowers. And like, I can't water you right now. Right. But like, if you can hang in there with me, I will be back. Yeah. And that is definitely one of those moments.
Yes, for sure. I mean, and it's like, it's very different, but like we were talking before, it's like, when somebody has a baby, people are constantly, like, our instinct is to check on them and like, can we bring you food and can we do these things? And I think when somebody gets divorced, people are concerned and they want to, but I think it's better now, but it's such a topic that just feels, oof, I don't know if I want to talk, they probably don't want to talk about it. It's like, just ask or just do the thing, you know, like drop the thing at my doorstep. I think she was talking about a situation like that, like
a muffin and a coffee. Yes. Drop it off.
Drop it at my doorstep and tell me it's there, or, whatever. Like, I had instances of that saved me, because it is hard. And I think we talked when you were going through it that just like, it will bring you to your knees sometimes.
100%.
It will. Yeah. But you will get on the other side of it. And if you have people that can be empathetic and just like, I'm here for you if you need it, you'll take them up on it at some point.
I think another thing that was so helpful, where people would be like, can your kid come over and play?
Yes.
Because they're going through so much right now.
Yes.
And you're so worried about your kids.
Yes.
I mean, yes, we did feel all these things, but like, what really, the only thing that was truly all consuming was the absolute fear and guilt and everything that you have for everything that your kids are going through.
Yes.
So parents that are like, hey, can so-and-so come over to play? Or can I have them spend the night? And just to be like, hey, who's like, I would love to have so-and-so over to play. Whose day is it? I'm happy to reach out. Or like, just anything like that to make your kids feel even the remoteliest, that's obviously a word.
It's a great word.
Thank you. Yeah. Webster, write that down. To feel just the slightest bit normal. Is just absolutely game changing. Okay. So sort of like putting a pin in that is that, like, you really have to feel your feelings and do your work and embrace your situation in order to be able to even to begin to think about getting to a place of positive co-parenting. When you say,
oh yeah, totally. And you work, right? Like, I'm not a lawyer, but like, you work through those things as part of that process. Like, you have to come up with a plan and you guys have to agree. And the great thing about it's so painful, and it is not, there's nothing fun about it.
It's the scariest thing I've ever been through.
It's terrible. I mean, it is, it's just part of it. But I do think that if you can approach that with what is going to be the best thing for the kids. What is going to be the best thing for them, despite how I feel about this person across the table.
Right.
It will help you. It will be so much better in the long run. That is the hardest thing to do, because you're in the thick of all the emotions. You haven't worked past it yet.
Right.
You are right down in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part. But if you can find those ways to do that in terms of like, whatever that looks like, that makes sense for the situation you're in. Like, when are they at mom's and when are they at dad's? When are, how are we going to handle birthdays? How are we going to handle holidays? Like all those things. Like, and the great thing is in the beginning, at least for us, I'm 9 years, 10 years separated, almost 9 years divorced. It's something we fall back on.
Yes.
But like we don't necessarily aren't like to the letter on that anymore because we've figured out other things that work for us and for what's best for the kids as they've gotten older.
Yes. Yeah. And like we had we're the same for the most part, we stick to the same rhythm, but like we're absolutely flexible, but like, just like regular humans, sometimes we still fight.
Right.
And I can even say to my kids, like, Dad and I got in a fight, just like you and your brothers get into a fight. It is literally like all is good, but I'm just being honest. So we're going to default back to the parenting plan because that's what's so good for us is that like we're going to get right back on our feet, get right back into that rhythm. Yeah. Dad and I are absolutely going to work through this. Yep. Truly. I mean, we're both dedicated to it. We're just human. We fought. It's all good. It happens. Yeah. And like, so let's just get back to the original plan. And the kids are like, okay. Right. Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the big thing too, is it's hard, right? Like it's one of the worst conversations you'll ever have when you have to tell the kids.
Oh God.
It's terrible.
It's
terrible.
It's the worst.
It's the worst.
Yeah.
But you find ways to tell them in a way that's also like appropriate for them. But I do think like the honesty part of it, kids aren't dumb.
Right. No.
They know, like they know, even if you don't say mom and dad had a fight.
Right.
They know when it's off.
Oh my God, they sure do. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Right. So like if you can name it in like a constructive way, that at least validates what they're feeling.
I think it helps them too to know, okay, well, it's okay to tell them, tell mom or dad that I'm feeling X, Y, and Z, whether it's about the divorce or anything else, really. Yeah. Truly. I think I have never talked about feelings so much in my life.
Yes.
Until I, got divorced with the kids, it's just like, it's all we talk about.
I know. Same. I literally chase my boys around the house. I'm like, who wants to talk about feelings? They're like, no, mom. Yeah. I'm like, Mom, here I come.
Here I am on the floor. Well, mine aren't that little anymore, but at the time, like spent so much time sitting on the floor. Like, let me get on your level and like, tell me what you're feeling and let's talk about this. And, and I've gotten so good at saying, I'm sorry.
Same. I mean, what a gift.
Yeah.
And for your kids to learn how to say, I'm sorry.
Right.
Yeah, I would have to say that like that is one of the secret blessings is like, I don't know about you, but like, and I would assume with full confidence that your kids are very good at being accountable. Like when we screw up in this house, it's like we tell each other that you screwed up. We say, oh my God, I'm sorry. This is how I'll do better. This is why I did it, but I will do better next time. This is how I'm going to do better next time. The end. And then it's like, okay,
move on. Yeah.
Because we talk about feelings so damn much. I know. So we got so excited. I got so excited, but like, I think just going through the divorce process really quick. I agree. Having two lawyers, you have the two lawyers. I also had a parent mediator.
We had a mediator too.
Yeah. That is solely there, to advocate for the children.
Yes.
My lawyer was also like very, very pro children. Yeah. As was Chris's, to be honest. But like, I loved that the professionals in the room were not there to make sure so-and-so got money and this and that. Right. It was just, are these kids going to be okay?
Yes. Yeah. We had the same situation, I feel like, and it does make a huge difference because that's not always the case, unfortunately. So I think that, one of the things that I think is so great now is, and we were talking about this earlier, but just like the resources and how much people do talk about it, now, which is amazing because I think it does make a huge difference when you're trying to go through that stuff. If you don't have the situation where you do have an attorney that is kid focused. There are other ways you can go about it to get that guidance and advocate for the kids.
One thing that I did, it was very much for me because I was so emotionally charged going into those meetings, like could barely stay in my body, full of so many emotions. I brought a picture of the kids and set it out in front of me to be like, this isn't about you. Yeah. This is about them. Yeah. And that had such a ripple effect on, unbeknown to me, but like, everyone was like, oh my God, are those your children? And I was like, they are. And I was like, I'm going to get emotional, but like, this is why we're here to make sure that they're going to be okay. That's right. And everyone was like, completely devoted to protecting those kids at all cost during, the hardest time of your life.
Yeah.
Why am I crying?
Because it's so hard.
It is so hard.
I don't think, not having been through anything, like that's the biggest, I would say, maybe this is a stretch, but like for me, like that was the biggest trauma of my life.
Totally.
Yes. And I mean, like I said, I've never been brought to my knees so fast. Yeah. I have never cried so much and been so sick and worried so much in my whole life.
Yes.
Than going through all of that, worrying about like, how's this going to affect my daughter?
Yes.
How is this going to affect, and whoopsies, I was pregnant at the time, so what is that going to be like? Like it's just, you can't, I mean, you can't go through it without it or talk about it without it. It's right.
It is just the honest truth.
The most raw you'll ever be. At least that's the most raw I've ever been.
Absolutely. And then you're sitting in these meetings with lawyers, like gutted, and you have to just continue to put the kids first, to surround yourself with professionals, to put the kids first, to start every meeting off with that open intention of being like, we are here for the kids,
right? To
ensure that everyone, both your ex and you, are set up for success, to be stable parents for your kids.
Yes.
Emotionally, financially, all that stuff. So if people going through it can stay focused on that, it only betters the kids.
That's right.
And I think that is kind of like you said, that is the foundation. Like that parenting plan is the foundation for what makes positive co-parenting, for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think, so far we've talked about like, one, being real with yourself about what you're going through, and like you said, finding places to take care of yourself and talk about it.
Yep.
To enlist the help of professionals during it. I also I worked with like a child psychologist. My kids were not down to go to therapy, and they still don't want to go.
Yep.
But I was like, I don't know how to parent them through this. So it was a great resource. A friend actually reached out. She is battling cancer and her kids were struggling with that. And she was like, he's such a great resource for how I can support my kids through this. So I just called him last week. Cause I was like, we got teenagers and all this stuff. I was like, I don't know how to do this.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Again, like get creative on what resources.
Yeah.
Or if you're in the community, you're not overstepping by offering a resource. Cause that person reaching out without me asking has really been a game changer. And I'm very grateful.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. So how do you think, like, when we get into, the schedule's done, the meetings are over. My divorce was finalized over Zoom. That was so weird. Like, how do we be in, our emotions are still charged? What does positive co-parenting look like? How does it look like for you guys putting the kids first?
Yeah. It's a lot of communication.
Yeah.
It is.
Who wants to communicate with the person you just broke up with?
Yeah.
You got to do it.
And it's just one of those things where you just kind of have to, it is what it is, and you have to do it.
Yeah.
And if you're really, you have to, I'm not saying if you're mad, you don't get to be mad at that person still, or like all those feelings are still going to be there. But maybe it is just as simple as like you putting that picture there if they're not already on your phone, like put them, something.
Yeah. Put them on your back screen.
It is cause especially soon after, you're both going to say things that's going to just charge the other one.
Oh yeah.
And
the triggers.
instantly send somebody from 0 to 10.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I say this again, like I'm ways out. I definitely sometimes say things that I know is probably a trigger for him. And he, likewise, we both do it, but
we're all humans.
We're all humans.
Yeah.
It's not intentional. Sometimes in the heat of the moment, stuff just happens.
Of course.
But I do think that, as long as you can just think about, okay, they're said X, Y, and Z. They want them, this is supposed to be my day.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the kids don't care.
No.
And if, if he has something going on with his family, like he's got a lot of family here. Yeah. I don't, but he does. But they get together and they do things because they're a close family. So yes, of course, come get the kids because Aunt so-and-so is in town.
Yeah.
And have them. That's fine because that's important for them to have that time.
Yes.
With him and with his family.
Yes.
And, and I've been very fortunate because he has done the same for me. Like we've been real, and we both work. So like sometimes he's got a trip and I'll have the kids.
Right.
And vice versa. Yes. It's hard at first. Eventually it just becomes like part of the groove and it's just second nature.
You just make it second nature.
Yeah.
Yes. My ex travels as well for work and like I'll get them extra and when he asks if he can make up that time, I try and accommodate.
Right.
Like, you know, at the end of the day, they really want to see him.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I think
that's
the big thing too. And when we like, not to go too far back to the process, but like when we were trying to figure that out in terms of like, what is the schedule for these kids?
Yeah.
It was really making sure that, you know, we knew we didn't want to do like week on, week off.
Yeah.
That was too long for kids and for us.
Yeah. And that's what wasn't right for you. It might be right for somebody
else. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. But for us, that just wasn't going to work. So it was figuring out like, how do we split up the time, but it's not, you know, it's not every other day, but like it's in a way that makes sense. And it is like scheduled, that it's not like shifting from week to week. Right. Like that was the important thing for us, so that even though that might not be consistent and in the beginning for the kids because they were so young, like feel unstable.
Yeah.
There would be stability wherever they were for a period of time.
I think that is the key, is that both parents need to really focus and do the work. Like we were saying, really, even before getting into this, is like, do the work to be stable.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
It takes time. And the other thing that you might find yourself doing is, it's so easy when the kids come home and you hear like, we did X, Y, and Z. And that may not be something that you like or would have liked or all those things. Not that it's anything bad, but just like, not really.
Right.
And keeping that to yourself.
Yes.
And you also might have a situation where then you're also, because you have families involved.
Yeah.
And your family may feel a certain way. And, you know, like my family has been great. Right. Yeah. But like, again, we're all human.
Of course.
And then it's the conversations with just like,
we're not going to say anything.
I am bullish about it, you know? And again, my parents are great. My sister is great.
But they're also like, you are their daughter. But of course they're emotionally charged about the fact that you've been divorced, and they're in it too.
That's like, right. Yes. Other people are in it too.
And they're human. And I'm
which
sure
is another
like,
thing to not feel shame about.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Add it to the list.
Add it. So it's just a thing that, it's hard, but
yes, like do not say anything bad about your co-parent in front of the kids.
No, and you cannot agree. Like a lot of times if there are things that they say that like, you know, we don't see that, but like nobody sees eye to eye, even when you're married, and it's wonderful.
100%.
Right? Like there's nothing that's going to be 100% all the time.
Yep.
But it's just like, yeah, that's what dad thinks. And, you know, I think a little bit different, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Right.
All good.
And like, and he has the same conversations.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is what I think. Mom and I don't agree, but that's all right.
Yes.
You know?
And like, so I think the making sure that you give your ex the space to find their own stability, to never say anything bad, to absolutely be rooted in the schedule. I think rhythm is really, really important for the kids.
Yes. It is.
So that schedule is your core rhythm.
Yes.
But to your point, life happens and you have to be flexible, and you can't like, you know, you can't be like, dad's out of town again, to be like, hey kids, you should feel bad about that. It's like, hey, dad had to work.
Yep.
I got you. And like, just to like keep it positive, but also to be honest, like, you know, if they're upset that mom had to go out of town or dad had to go out of town, the other parent can absolutely honor that and be like, yeah, that does, I know.
Sucks.
It sucks.
I know.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we get that every now and then we get that, right?
Totally.
Like if he's got to go on a trip and he's gone for a while.
Yeah.
You know, COVID. I mean, in the very very beginning of it, we went to stay at my parents for a week because he had a trip. And so I was like, well, let's just go to my parents. You know, they had a pool. I'm like,
yeah, great.
Nana and Papa for a week. Great.
Yeah. I love it.
And at the tail end of it, he tested positive for COVID. And this is like in the very, very beginning where it's like 2 weeks, nobody goes near anybody.
Yeah.
So we just stayed at my parents. Yeah. So we were there for 3 weeks, and like, you know, we FaceTime, but like, that's just, it's not the same. No. And there would be tears. Like, I missed out. I know. Do you want to call him? Yeah. You know, like it's like, those are the things because they need it.
That's such a good point. When there's so many moments, especially in the beginning, but even still now.
Oh yeah.
I miss dad or I miss mom. Like, you can't take that personally. You can't this is my time. No. You can't be like, am I not fun enough? In your head even, am I not fun enough? Yeah. That's just their emotions. Yeah. They just genuinely miss their parent.
Yes.
And that has nothing to do with you.
No, it really doesn't. And I think the big game changer for us, when my daughter turned 10, we decided to give her a phone because it was like, you know, she shouldn't have to ask. Cause I think too, for kids, it's like, well, I mean, no matter how good you and your co-parent are doing, it's like, well, I don't want to ask if I can call mom, or I don't want to ask if I can call dad. And so I think that was a huge help for her, because then it let her text, call whoever. And she does, you know, like she'll call her dad when she's with me and be like, Dad, look what I'm doing, and all this stuff. And then sometimes when she's over there, she'll call me and be like, listen to me play this thing on the piano, you know, like all these things. And I think that was a, you know, that like, if we'd still been married, would we have given her a phone that early? No, probably not. Yeah, but it's just like, that's what the situation called for, and that's what she needed.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. We do the exact same thing. Honestly, like my ex is on FaceTime on someone's phone a lot in the background and vice versa. Like, you know, like, and it's totally fine. Yeah. Even like one of my little guys, like, is just a big feelings feeler. And like, sometimes he'll get really feelingsy at night. And like, he's like, I just need to call dad. And he'll use his little iPad with his iCloud account. And like, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, I just sat and snuggled with you and comforted you for the last hour. But if what's going to make you feel better to call your dad, like, that is totally okay. Yeah. And I'm glad that you get to call him.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
And that they feel like that they have that connection.
Yeah.
That's what I need.
That's what I need.
Let's do it.
I need both of you.
Yeah.
And so, and fully support that. Let's talk about one of the things I had such a hard time with, as I'm sure my ex did too, is sitting together at events when it first happens.
Yeah.
You're literally freshly Band-Aid ripped, oozing wound of emotions.
Yes.
And you got to go sit at baseball together.
Yeah.
You don't have to.
No.
But like we tried to, and we still do. Now we sit together, no big deal.
Yeah.
And if we don't sit together, it is not for any particular reason. It's like I plop down next to a friend, he plopped down, you know, like, but we want our kids to be able to look in the stands and see us sitting together.
Yes. Yeah.
Be like, but I mean, literally in the beginning, as I'm genuinely sure it is mutual between the two. I felt like my whole body was on fire.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It can't not, right? Like you can't not feel that way. I think that, you know, and again, like that's just something that we just said we were going to have to do.
Yeah. We both committed to it.
We committed to it. I think my kids were so young that we weren't in school just yet.
Yeah.
Like,
good
my
point.
oldest was just starting kindergarten, I think.
Yeah.
And so
she's not on the pro athlete training.
She was not on that. Nope. We aren't anywhere near that path. My kids are not sporty kids, which I'm totally fine with. She is art and music and all the things. But what I will say is like, it didn't hit me as much on that. Like, again, in my head, I'm like, yep, we're just going to do it and it's going to be fine. But when they get in school and then there's, student of the week.
Yeah.
And it's put pictures of your family up. Well, depending on who gets them home, right? And then you're trying to do it, and then you're trying to figure out like pictures and all this stuff. Like that gets real hard. We got really like better at like my oldest just had her confirmation. So it's like, we need to get a picture of the four of us, right? Like
for that star student board so that they don't have to put.
So it's not so awkward. Like, why do you just have a picture? Why is this one of you and your mom and this one of you and your dad?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Take the pictures.
Because they're going to get questions anyway. Because at some point kids just, they just learn.
They're just curious cats.
They don't know. And so I think, like that we've like always Halloween, we trick or treat together.
Same.
You know, like birthdays. Up until like the last year, they've like, oh, I just want to have a slumber party. So that's kind of like wherever they are, whatever we do. But I mean, we try really hard when they've got things to, you know, if we can be there, you know, if there's a play multiple night, if we're there the same night, great. If not, that's fine too. But it's hard.
It is hard.
It's something I think you don't think about until you get there and it's like, oh shit.
Yeah. You're like, I mean, literally my body would be on fire. Yeah. And then you have to socialize with other parents and you have to put on the face for your other kids. But we both were committed to the greater good of our kids deserve to look in the stands after they hit a base hit to be like, look, mom, look, dad, look what I just did. And not have to search for either of you.
And not be afraid that they're going to look up and see like either like,
pissed parents.
Pissed off. Yeah, yes. Like, oh, they clearly don't want to be here next to each other.
Right. Yeah. So like, and now it is no problem.
Yeah.
It literally, I mean, and it has been no problem for a long time. Yeah. Like, I mean, I remember for us, we do Christmas morning together because neither of us could ever imagine being so similar to like I could never do a week apart. Like I could never not do Christmas morning. And I think that Chris felt the same way. So he comes over for Christmas morning And that first Christmas, I'm like, I think we did it. He was great. I was great. Like, honestly, it was great. And then like you get to that point where everyone's done opening presents. We're all hanging around. We're having coffee. And both of us were like, okay, I think we're good.
Yep.
Because that's all you can take. And that's okay.
Yeah.
And okay. Now he hangs out for hours. And
yes.
It's nice. He helps put batteries and things. And like, you know, we have 2 sets of eyes to give kids attention with. And like, it's all good.
It's just time.
You have to keep your eye on the prize, which is these kids that deserve to see 2 parents who love them.
Absolutely.
And that can do the work to get there.
Yeah.
I think, okay, so scheduling and being flexible, like putting on your big girl pants at events, and it will get better. It will get better. It will get better.
Yeah.
To like, you know, I think another big one is like owning your side of the street. You know, like I'm not a perfect co-parent either. And like sometimes I forget what we like had a fight and we snapped or I snapped and I misunderstood what he was saying.
Yeah.
And I apologized because he deserved it.
Right.
Like he deserved an apology.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. It just like it just takes time to no longer identify as the person where you hurt each other's feelings.
Right. Yeah. And that you're just like, you know, you get married and it's like, yep, we're in this till, you know, like you said, like till death do you part and all that stuff. And like at the end of the day, you may not be in it with each other, but you're in it for these kids.
Like forever. Weddings, graduations,
all the things,
grandkids. Yeah. Like this is it. And like, you know, I know like that also, like, I know you and I have not found new partners or anything, but like, that will be one of my criteria is like, you have to get on board with this. Like we're all in this.
Yeah.
And they are his kids.
Yes.
And like, you have to respect that.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know, because at the end of the day, like, you know, I told my kids this once. I was like, I had this dream that like, I was in my wedding dress and my dad was about to walk me down the aisle and I was crying because I knew how it was going to turn out.
Oh God.
And my dad was like, you don't have to do this. And I said, Dad, I want those kids. I'll do it anyway.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
No matter all the heartache, all the regret, all the anything, no matter what.
Yep.
This person gave you your kids.
Yeah.
Like, and there's no denying that there isn't immense value in that.
No. And I mean, I would not do anything different. No, I wouldn't. No. I cannot imagine my life without those 2.
Right.
I don't know. And honestly, even if we had, you know, gotten married and divorced before we had kids.
Yeah.
I think I actually would have been a lot worse off.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just that just became, that was my sole purpose.
Yeah.
And just knowing myself, like if it had happened before that, just like the age I was in, I think I would have been so lost.
Yeah. You're so right. There's so much healing that is required as a parent that like you kind of could skirt if you didn't have the kids. They're so your motivation.
Yeah. Well, and cause you know, I mean, just like, even if you're married though, but like, just, you have to be the model for them, right? Like you both have to stuff it.
Yeah.
And just be that point of stability and the model for them too, because they are going through so much and they're young and they're kids. And if they're not ready for therapy, they need somebody to show them, how do I work through this?
Yes.
And then we're back to talking about all the feelings.
Right. And here we are chasing people
here we
around
are.
house being like, who wants to talk to me?
Hug me,
hug me. Somebody hold
who
me.
Who wants to cuddle?
I know. Literally. Oh my God. What am I going to do when they're all too old to cuddle?
I don't know.
Oh God. It's not good. I think the other thing, what was the other thing that I was just thinking about? Like when I think about what does it take to be a positive co-parent and to put the kids first. One of the things that we're going through now as our kids are sort of transitioning from little kids to big kids and teenagers and tweenagers is we really, again, back to your point around communication is like, what's your advice on how do you parent like rules wise at your house versus his house?
Yeah, we talk or text a lot just to say, you know, like, here's where I am. This is a situation and I'm not going to let them do X, Y, and Z. Yeah. Or, hey, you know, I mean, obviously like with the schools too, if we ever get an email that says like, you know, whatever.
Right. Kids mess up.
Yeah. They mess up.
Right. Yeah.
There's something going on if they don't. Right.
Yes,
so,
right. Truly.
So, you know, so, and we'll just talk about it. Like, hey, did you see the email? Hey, do you have a minute? Can you talk? I mean, it's just, I mean, there's nothing, I don't think any special secret other than like, you just have to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's going to be things that like they're okay with that you might not be.
Yeah.
And you just have to try to find a middle ground for it.
Yes.
Or sometimes there's things that it's just like, yeah, you know, oh, dad lets me do that. Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
You can do that at dad's, but we're not doing that here. And I'm sure he gets the same thing, you know, like mom lets me stay up till whatever, you know, whatever it might be.
Right.
And as long as it's not really hurting anybody.
Right.
It's fine.
And as long as like, I also love to be able to like, you guys talk about everything that you could then turn to your kids and be like, you know what, dad and I talked about this and we agreed to disagree on this one. So my house, you can do it this way. His house, you can do it that way. But it shows your kids that you guys have made the effort to still parent together.
Yeah.
And to your point, so much of this parenting different stuff happens married or not.
Right.
It does. Everybody's different.
It does. I think that, and I don't know, like it could just be me. I don't know if it's just like, as you know, just as women too, right? Like, and I think this goes back to the shame piece, but like, we're all brought up to like, you know, like, I think it's better than it used to be, right? Like it's careers and all this kind of stuff, but it's still, there's still like, you're going to grow up and you be a mom and a wife and all these things.
Yep.
And then if that fails, oh my God, like by pretty much all accounts, like I did everything I was supposed to do, right? Like we dated and we didn't live together before we got married, like, you know, all these different things.
Right.
And it just didn't work because we're two humans and it just didn't work out.
Sometimes it just doesn't work out.
It just doesn't work out. But I think for the kids, if they can see that, you know, you can model how you work through it, then they know it's okay. And
I think that's so important. And for them to see that you two are still a united front. And I think like I, maybe to a fault, am like incredibly honest with my kids.
Yeah.
And like, if my kids are ever frustrated with their dad and they're talking to me about it, it is a very fine line of supporting them and honoring their feelings and validating their feelings, but also being a supportive co-parent.
You have to back them up sometimes.
You have to back them up sometimes.
Yeah.
Or like we have instances where, again, no one is perfect, like where, let's say the co-parent like genuinely really screws up. So then as a parent, you have to be like, okay, I hear you. You know what? Actually, I don't agree with so-and-so's behavior. I'm going to talk to them about it. And then you just talk it through.
Yeah.
And that like, if I ever screw up, I would hope that Chris would come to me and be like, hey, I really think you know, like, don't be a dick about it, but like, I really think you screwed this up. Can
talk to me
like
about
this. You're like, I understand where you're coming from, but your behavior was not okay.
Right.
And that's on me to fix or vice versa. And like, again, I think this is married or not married, but when you are co-parents, you still have to have those conversations.
Yes.
And your kids need to see you both championing for them, but also protecting and supporting the other co-parent, and that like, we are still a united front.
Yeah. And I think like honestly, the biggest, this feels like a weird word.
But should we make up a word?
Well, I'm not really making up a word, I don't think, but like, it feels like a weird word to use, but I don't have another one right now because it's Friday and my brain's fried.
Right.
But like the biggest, I think, compliment we have received is one of my daughter's teachers telling her that he forgot we were divorced.
Yeah.
And again, that has taken a lot of time and a lot of growth and work on both of our parts.
Yes.
But, you know, like you talk about going to events, it's like conferences for teachers and stuff, right? Like
you go together.
We make it work and we go to, you know, like our schedules and we figure it out and we go together. And I think that is, I bring that up, not to toot my own horn, but to say when I was in the thick of it, I never would have ever thought somebody would have said that. You know what I mean? Like,
I think you should toot your horn. You've worked your ass off to get there, and so has he.
Yeah.
Toot, toot.
Yeah.
Beep, beep. I think that, like you said, it takes time. It takes intentional work.
Yeah.
And it takes, I think, probably a little bit of empathy too, to be like, these teachers don't want to sit amongst tense parents.
They got enough going on.
They don't need to be your therapist too.
No, they sure don't. But you know, I think the good thing too is one of the things that I have done every single year that the kids have been in school, and it's a little bit easier with my oldest because small school and they know, but is I send a letter on their first day and I say, just so you know.
Yes. We're a two-family house.
We are a two-family household. Here's some things to know. And most teachers now, they actually are great and they send home, like, here's a sheet. Tell me about your kid, which is amazing.
Yeah.
But I've been really intentional about doing that so that they know from the very beginning.
Yeah.
So like, when I say I need you to put both of these emails on all your communications, I need you to include both of us on this distribution list.
Yes.
Like all of the lists we have to be on.
Yep.
So we're both aware. But also just so they know, because you know, my kids have been through this for a while, but they're still, you know, going from one house to another.
Right.
It's their regular schedule. That's their rhythm, but it's still like, you know, it's still hard.
Yeah.
You know,
it is still hard.
They've got great beds at both places, but that's still 2 different beds.
And things get lost and
oh my gosh, things get lost. I can't tell you how many times, like 8 o'clock at night. Do you have this? Oh yes, I do. Do you want me to bring it? No, we'll swing by, or I'll put it in the mailbox.
Same.
I mean,
oh my God, those are the 3 options.
Yes.
Do you want me to drop it off? No, I'll swing by. No, put it in the mailbox. Yes. I just put a phone and some books in Chris's mailbox this morning. Literally. Always.
I literally ran something over the other night because Mary had ordered something and it came. She wanted to wear it. And I was like, I just opened this up. It smells to high heaven. Yeah. I'm going to wash it and I will drop it off in the morning. You know, it's just like.
Right. Because that's what your kid wants. The books were Alex's. He ordered them on Amazon. He was so excited. Yeah. They didn't come in time before he left for his dad's.
Yes.
Chris this morning was like, can you run them over? I'm like, absolutely. Yep. No problem. Yeah. I'll be on the road. You know, I'm leaving at 9. I'll drop them off on the way. This point. Yeah. No problem. Yeah. And vice versa. And like, I think the other thing is like, your ego is so damaged when you first get divorced. Yeah. And so like, you can't help, maybe this is just us. But like, or maybe maybe it's just me. But to be like, sort of like a competitive parent, to be like, well, I didn't forget the socks. Right.
In the beginning,
because you're just trying to like prove your worth to yourself.
Just trying to survive.
Trying to find some confidence. You're trying to feel okay. Your ego is on fire.
Absolutely.
But now, like I would never ever openly shame him to be like, I can't believe you forgot the socks. I'm always the one who forgets. My memory, she gone. So like, how many times has he had to be like, hey, you still have this? And I'm like, oops. Yeah. He's never once shamed me for that. I will never it's not a competition. No, there's no gold stars. No, there's like, and like that also is part of the work, part of time. But like, I felt like that was another challenge that I faced. That was like, just so you know, I'm the best. And it's like, no, that's not the case. Yeah. Like everybody's good in their own different ways. Yeah. I'm the forgetful one. Yeah. He's the on time one. Yeah. Like, it's all good. Yeah. So that like, and that way your kids don't have to feel that tension to be like, oh, I hope mom doesn't get in trouble for forgetting, you know.
Well, and then even like, you know, well, I bought those things. I want those clothes back. It's like,
yes.
Forget the kids' clothes.
It's the kids' clothes.
It's the kids' don't care. Just, I just, as long as I have what they need for when we're here. Yes. But like at the end of the day, take your stuff. I don't care. It's yours.
It's yours.
It's not mine.
No,
it's yours.
And like, we'll have moments where I'll be like, the kids have no underwear.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And he's like, oh my God, I have a million pair. I'm like, great. Next time you drop them off, can you just give me some?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we have uniforms. So it's right now, like the other day I was like, I have no short sleeve shirts and summer is already here. Yeah. You know,
right. Yeah. Do you have those?
Yeah.
And like, I don't get me wrong. Like we both have like, I buy clothes for my house. He buys clothes for his.
Totally.
So it's not like a budget thing, but it is it's the clothes that I bought for my house or the clothes that he bought for his house. The kids are their kids wearing their clothes on their body. And somehow you've accumulated them. It's not like, do you have that one red t-shirt?
No, it's just like, I don't care whose it is.
Okay. So I feel like for when we're talking about positive co-parenting and what it means to put your kids first, there isn't like a blanket statement besides do the work and put your kids first. Yeah. But I think hopefully we've given a lot of helpful examples for those to either feel seen who they've gone through it, for other parents in the stands to be like, you know, to just kind of like, you know, send the positive vibes when the parents are trying to sit next to each other because they're trying to do it right for their kids, et cetera. But like, I think the big thing is to like set the intention every time you're going to communicate, every time you're going to hang out, any time that this is about the kids. Yep. And to give yourself time, but to, the more you can support each other, the better your kids will do.
Yes.
Full stop.
Yes. 1000%.
And like, you both have to be dedicated to that, but you absolutely can get there. And our kids deserve it. Our kids deserve 2 parents that can get along and share the fact that no matter what, you made these kids together.
That's right. Yeah.
I love that. And that is really important. And I'm 3 years in around 3 years separated, almost, and definitely 2 years divorced. And I feel like it just like, it has been a slow evolution. And there was kind of this like big click, just even at the beginning of, within the last 6 months, I would say. Yeah. And that's okay. It takes time. And we sure tried every step of the way until it really started to click. And like that. So my point being, it takes time. And to your point, when the rails fall off. I don't think that's the right expression. Wheels fall off a bus, whatever. You guys get me when shit goes bad.
It's all good. I gotcha.
Default to your plan.
Yeah.
Get back on your feet.
Yep.
Get back on the objective of kids first and keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going. But I think that at the end of the day, that's what our kids deserve.
Yes.
So knowing, I mean, we both openly talked about, one, how hard it is, but two, like how you have to sort of manage your feelings. How did you take care of yourself in these first, like, as you were getting, you know, because you really like, I mean, you were like reborn, truly.
Oh,
like
totally.
Your whole life as it exists is gone.
Yes.
The whole construct of your life. And you have to find out who you are again. And
yes. While you're raising kids.
Yeah. NBD.
Yeah. No big deal at all. Yeah. I mean, I think it's so funny. My Taylor Swift reference, but
feel free.
Her new one, but that song, like Doing It With a Broken Heart, like that's what I'm like, thank God this was not out when I was doing it, because I was already a hot mess. Like, but that was 1,000% like would have been my anthem, because that's what you're doing.
Yes.
That's what you're doing.
Yes.
But I think, you know, in terms of like taking care of yourself, in the beginning, I mean, honestly, I was not great. Like my youngest was a baby.
Yes. Like a fresh,
brand new. And so I was literally surviving, not thriving. You know, it was just like taking care of him, trying to make sure my daughter was okay, like do all these things.
Yes.
But I think it's probably around the same time, like you're saying, like 2 years in, I kind of started to figure things out. He was older. And I think one of the things I started doing, that I still do, is when it's his weekend, I do on Sunday mornings what I lovingly call my old lady Sunday drive.
Girl, I knew you were going to say it because I drive, because you told me to drive.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell everyone how to do this, because it is like, I look forward to it so
Oh my
much.
God. I like literally crave it. Crave
yes,
it.
Literal crave.
Like, like I'm twitching and itching because I haven't done it. So yeah, I mean, I forget what prompted me to do it, but I just, one morning just got up, I don't know what it was, needed to get out of the house. I made myself a tea, or maybe I picked one up. I don't know, but I always have a tea.
Yeah. Right.
And I get in the car
Beppy.
and I just drive. And I have just like now I could probably do it in my sleep. Wouldn't be a good idea, but I could do it.
Yeah.
Dangerous.
Right.
Follow the rules of the road.
Don't work.
But I do like, I have 2 playlists that I consistently add to. And one is just like a great, like driving, but it lets me, I'm not great at, I've never been great at journaling. It's just something I've started trying to do this year.
Yeah.
I do it at night before I go to bed so that I can go to sleep, because I can't shut my brain off.
I love that.
But, it just so like lets me think and about whatever I need to process.
It's your time to process.
It is.
Yep.
Just me, my music, all that stuff. I have another playlist because I have, I'm not great at, one of the things I still work on. I think like I cried a lot. And then it's like, I kind of don't cry as much. Yeah. I think so I have a playlist for when I'm like, crying. You need to cry.
Yes, queen.
You need to cry.
Yes.
And I have all the songs.
Yes.
And works like a charm. I'll get 15 minutes into it and then it's just like tears. But I always feel better after.
Those tears have to come out.
They do. I mean, it like, honestly, it makes it, it's something that I'm like, that's, it's not healthy. You've got to get it out.
Yeah.
And it's probably a coping mechanism that I've developed as a way to try to stay strong in front of the kids. But like, not to say my kids have never seen me cry. That's not true. But
as they are,
they should.
Yeah.
Yes, they should. But I also, it's just the way I'm wired right now. So that's my way of getting it out.
I love my drives, my weekend drives. Because they're, when that grief hits those weekends, when your kids are gone,
it's hard.
Holy God, there's nothing like it.
And the first few times, it's just like your heart is just out.
Would be hysterical or
terrible.
Like deeply depressed for the first year or two. And I would go on my drives. The other thing is like, I really lost my way in terms of trusting myself. Like, again, back to that shame stuff, good times. But like, I really was too afraid to reconnect to my intuition. So my therapist told me, because I was telling her about my drives, I was like, my friend Ashley told me to drive. So I've been driving.
Drive where?
Literally anywhere.
Yeah.
But she was like, you need to reconnect with your intuition. So like, I will go on intuitive drives where like when I'm at a stop sign without a destination, I'm like, what does my intuition say? Do I want to turn right or do I want to turn left?
Yeah.
And it is like, it's uncomfortable.
It's so uncomfortable. And that's how I got like to my route is I just one day was like, that's exactly what it was. It was like, I'm going to turn right.
Right.
Oh, I always go this way. I'm going to go this, you know, like,
right.
But there's something I think too, like freeing about it.
Yeah.
Because there's so many, and again, this is in anything, but like there's an extra level, I will say, when you're divorced and a single parent of there's an extra level of worry and concern about decisions that you make. And it's so nice to just be like, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I can turn right. I can turn left.
Right.
Nobody cares.
Right. My tea doesn't care.
It's not, my tea doesn't care. It's nice and hot. It's going to stay that way. And it doesn't impact anybody.
No,
it doesn't even, it's not going to affect anything I do.
Yeah.
And there's something to that I think is very therapeutic.
Yes. Yes. Yep. Oh my God. Yes. So drives.
Yep.
We talked about therapy.
Yep. I mean,
I have one friend that like we Snapchat each other and like I would send her a picture of like me absolutely sobbing with all of my feelings on it. And like just to have one person who doesn't, she's not divorced.
Right.
She's my friend who is a widow. So like same shit, different river. But like, there was never any judgment. And I still can say all of my messiest feelings to her. So she is a huge saving grace.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's, you know, that's the other piece of it too, is like the community that you have that can support you. So I think I said, like, my family doesn't live here. My sister's in Chicago. My parents are in Louisville.
Yeah.
And they were amazing. I don't know what I would have done going through that, but you know, I'm here.
Yeah.
And like, God, my mom came up, my dad came up, you know, like, I mean, like everybody, my poor sister was planning a wedding at the time. So there was that, but like, you know, like, but they were there for me in a huge way.
Yeah.
But they don't live here.
Right.
And the community of people I had here.
Yes.
I do not know what I would have done.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would have done. And like those people are still, I have a Friendsgiving every year.
Yeah.
And those are the people that come.
Yeah.
Like still. And we don't see each other as much as, you know, because we all work together.
Right.
But like, and some of them, like, unfortunately, that's the only time we do get together. But God damn it. It's just like
it's
that I need that, you know, and I will never, ever be able to repay any of the people that were there for me at that time. But it does play into the taking care of yourself piece, because whether it's that they talk to you or, you know, just listen or, you know, share all your messy feelings, all that stuff, help take care of your kids. But your kids need to see that too.
Yeah.
Like they need to see that there is, you know, like there's community with the family, but also you can lean on other people.
Yes.
Cause I think that's been important, particularly for my daughter, because she's older, that like, it's okay to talk about the messy stuff with your friends.
Yes.
Talk about the messy shit, because I guarantee you they may not have the same thing, but they've got something. Yes. Everybody has their stuff. And like right now, we're in the throes of teenagers.
Yes.
And 7th and 8th grade is a freaking nightmare, especially with girls. So it's a lot of like, everybody has their stuff.
Everyone's got this
stuff. Is your thing. And I guarantee you that girl's got a thing too.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's like, it really has been such a great opportunity to model what great friendships, again, looking at middle schoolers who like friendships are not always great, to be like, no, this is what a great friendship looks like. Do you find that with that great group of friends that, yes, they showed up, but like, were you able to be brave enough to be specific, to be like, I'm lonely right now. Can like, you know, like, you have to be, it sucks, but you have to be brave enough to ask for something specific that you need. Yeah.
And I would say I've always probably been like an alpha independent, right?
Samesies.
Like I can do it. I can do it. Like even, I mean, and even sometimes now, like things around the house, I'm just like, I do not want to pay somebody for, I will paint that room. And then I paint that room and I'm telling my family, remind me how much I hate painting.
Yes.
And I don't want to do it again. And then I'm back on my stuff. But, I was fortunate. Like when the decision was made, we were getting divorced. I remember like, you know, telling folks, actually, I think some of them I told in the office. That's a fun moment. But you know, but it was just like, I have to get this out and I have to tell you. Yeah. And it's easier for me to tell a group of you than like do this one-off thing.
100%.
But yeah, I was very fortunate that I had a group of people that I could just be very honest with, but that also held a lot of space for me, even though I think pretty much all of them were also married, you know? Yes. And so, and they were all really great about checking on me and checking in on me, checking in on the kids. Like when my son was born, like bringing food, which again, I think, you know, people have a baby, that's just a natural thing, but that didn't stop at that point. Right.
I love that. Yeah. I have this like theory. I think I heard it, so I don't think I made it up, but I'm really into it, is that like catching people on the bounce. So it's like one thing when the rug gets pulled out. I mean, I feel the same way. I will never be able to repay the community of people that and my family that held me together, that supported me, picked up my kids. Now, like, we no longer identify as the person going through a divorce. Right. It's like, I'm just me. Yeah. But I'm on the bounce. So like, it goes back to that, like, you know, friends who water and, you know, like, can you still be there? Like, check on your people who have bounced because their life is still very different.
It is. Yeah. And I think it's just like you know, like on the weekend, like I don't have my kids this weekend.
Right.
I have lots of great friends that will ask me to do things and ask me to come over. I have friends that live in Northern Kentucky that I will go. I stay the night at their house often. I love that. Right. Like I go to their house for dinner and we hang out and I stay the night. Then I come home the next morning and it's great.
Yep.
But you know, but if I'm not, I also have to be intentional about it. Right. Yeah. So like doing things like coming to, you know, I think we've tried to get together 100 times 100 times. There's always something. Right. But like, I'm going to go have brunch with a friend on Sunday and like, you know,
you have to initiate,
you have to initiate a little bit more. But I think, so there's like, that may feel a little bit harder sometimes.
Yes. Agreed.
But your friends are going to, you know, they're going to do it. But I think also too, like for the folks that aren't in it, don't forget about your friend.
Yes.
Even like after time has passed and to your point, like they're on the bounce because you know, sometimes it is. It's like sometimes you go into those weekends and you're like, I can't wait to just not have anything to do.
Yeah.
Do my drive. Like, I mean, I still always do the drive, but, but sometimes it's like, I don't have anything to do.
Right. That's sad.
Yeah.
I know. Just asking.
Yeah.
Even if you don't know if they have the kids or not.
Yes.
Just
ask.
It feels so good to being a single parent is very lonely. Yeah. So like, even when you are surrounded by the most amazing community, even when you're drowning in children, even when you have a full-time job, it's still very lonely.
Yeah.
So like, just ask, and like, be okay if they say no.
Yeah.
But it's just so lovely to be asked.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thought about.
Right. And thought about truly. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
And I think, so it's like, find those things that bring you peace. That's our drives. And like, I think, you know, find your friends that you can be so vulnerable with, be brave enough to ask for specific help.
Yeah.
Get the help that you need.
Yes.
And like rest when you need to.
Oh, that I honestly can tell you, it's not been until like the last year that I've actually made myself like been better about doing that. Right. Like I think I just tend to have always been just a busybody. And it's like, okay, well, I don't have the kids this weekend and I could do all of these things. Right, and I do all of the things and wonder why I'm exhausted come Sunday night, you know? So that is really, really important.
I'm in my rest era.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I've never binge watched so many shows.
Yep. Don't mind if I do.
Life. Great. What else should I watch, people? You know?
Literally. I know. If anyone can tell us what else to watch.
Yeah. Or podcasts. I like that too.
Yes. Those also like, that helps with the lonely. It's like,
it does.
I will put a podcast in my ear.
Yeah. Well, I told you, that's what I do. I listen to your podcast. Like, it's like I'm sitting with Betsy and talking to her friends.
I know. Yeah. I'm glad that our kids are on the same schedule now because now we can hang out.
I know. It's great.
That's the hardest part.
It is hard.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. What resources, like I know you were well before me and it wasn't as widely talked about and there weren't like, I feel like there's divorce coaches and everything, but like what resources did you use then? What resources are you finding helpful now? Like for anyone out there who is just like grappling for any bit of hope.
Yeah.
Where did you find it?
Yeah. So I had a couple of friends that I was close to that had previously been married and been through divorce. So it was so helpful to have them to talk to. That was huge. And then, you know, I think the thing that I didn't have, I didn't know anybody that got divorced when they had kids. So the people that I talked to that had been divorced were so incredibly helpful. Like there were so many things that they helped me think of that I would not have thought of. Right. But I do think, like, to your point, now there's so much more out there. People talk about it a lot more. And, you know, I mean, you can thank social for that because people have more of a platform to do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's like a big thing. So if you know people, don't be afraid to ask them.
Yeah.
Because they've been there. And if you're somebody that's been there, reach out to those folks because they need it. They're probably drowning.
Can't you tell on social? I'm like, oh, I sense you're getting divorced.
Yeah. So it's funny you say that because I had a friends that I was like, they didn't post about their anniversary this year. And I texted them, and then I got the text back, and I was like, oh my God. Right. And you know,
damn it, I knew it.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
but then
terrible.
That's where, like, it's the fine line of like, you're like, I'm here when you need me.
Right. Yeah.
If you need me.
Yeah, totally. I'm here. Things. Been there, done that. Yeah. But I do think like there's a woman that I still follow, right? That is Michelle Dempsey. She's amazing.
Michelle Dempsey.
She's such a badass.
She's such a badass.
I know. Can I be your friend?
Yes, literally. Hey girl, can we be friends?
Can we?
We're ready.
Yeah.
We'll come down to Miami and visit you. Yeah. Just so you know. Yes. She is I read her book.
Yeah, her book's great.
Her book is phenomenal. So anyone out there, read her book.
Yep.
She is 100% all about kids first.
Yes.
And seeing her reels over and over and over again about kids first. It's like, yep, you're right. Kids first.
And if you're in the thick of it, she'll think of things or talk about things that, like, again, you just won't, because you can't, because when you're in the thick of it, you just can't think about all the things, but she breaks it down really well. And then I think the other thing is if you're like further along in it, she'll help you check yourself.
Yeah, for sure.
And or it's validating. Yeah. Like, or should just validate like that you're okay. Yeah, I'm on the right path.
She is definitely a high value follow.
Yeah.
And her book was great. I read, I think I read a book that a friend gave me that was like Eat, Pray, Fuck My Life. And that one was awesome.
That sounds great. I should read that.
I loved it. And I like, you should definitely read it. It was really funny. And it was a good read. That was a good read. I am trying to think what else, but like, I'm just like insatiably curious, love to learn and feel. And like, for me, learning something and figuring something out makes me feel a little bit more in control.
Yes.
So like I studied.
I think that like, so like for my kids, we, I mean, like, I think a lot of people do, right? Like both my kids have ADHD. Mm-hmm. Really not a big deal.
Yeah. I got some of those.
Yeah. I mean,
I am one of those.
I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
But I think that, so like for me, like a lot of like, things that I'm like reading right now, honestly, is just around that.
Yeah.
So I think it's, definitely there's more resources out there to help for like divorce and, whether, being a single parent and single dating, whatever. I don't even go down that, but like all those things.
Lord help us.
Oh God. Yeah. But also just like things there's plenty of stuff out there too about like kids. Cause I mean, again, going back to it in the beginning of it, like the biggest thing that absolutely terrified me was, what is this going to do to the kids?
Are my kids going to be
Are they going to be okay? And the kids will be okay.
The kids will be okay.
They will be okay.
They will be okay.
Yeah.
Because like you said, everyone's got their stuff.
Yes.
And like now that we go to public school where like religion and that kind of thing isn't as super intertwined. There are a lot of two household families. There are, one of the things that was helpful in the community, this is jumping off the self-care ship and kind of transitioning us into how can the community play a role. I think we've talked a lot about it, but I just kind of want to synthesize it is, like one of the things with divorce is like who's friends with who and like, and that's hard on the community, I can imagine. But like, at the end of the day, half the weekends they're with their dad. And so people need to be kind and friendly and welcoming so that my kids don't ever feel for whatever reason. First of all, we should just all get along. I don't ever want to like put that position on anyone in my community, anything, but like, I had a friend recently who was like, hey, like, just so you know, they were on vacation and Chris and the kids were on vacation and they had them over. She was like, you, my girl, but like, I'm going to have them over And I was just like, thank you so much for saying that. Like, love that you, my girl. But like, also like, I love that you're being so inclusive and like acknowledging our friendship, but like treating him with kindness, and including my kids and him so they don't feel left out in everything, because we are still a family, but just with 2 homes.
It's just different.
It's just different.
It just doesn't do anybody any good to hang, like anybody in your community, like they can be, you know, you can be their girl and you can be their daughter and all those things, but hanging on to that just absolutely is going to drain you.
Yeah.
It's not,
and
it
them.
is, and them. And it's just not energy worth spending. Like your family's going to go through, like they have the same thing. Like they're going to have to process and figure things out. You can't take that on. You have to do your own, but you know, it's going to take them time too. But yeah,
I know. I mean, community, like this is one of those things where like, I don't think they'll ever understand, like you said, the impact that they had on my life and your life. It's the food dropped on the doorstep. It's the text, you've got this, or I was just thinking about you. Can I come take the kids? Being totally comfortable with like, this is one of those like awkward things that I felt so self-conscious about, but now I'm used to. If someone wants to play, like have a play date, I'm like, oh, they're with their dad. I will send him your number.
Yeah.
Cause I don't need to, you're so used to being the mom and like
scheduling all the things.
I'm like, no, it's his weekend. I need this mental space back. He is fully capable of doing this. And it's just easier both on the parent trying to like just schedule a play date for their kids and not have to go between 3 people. I'm like, here's Chris's phone number.
Well, and like the birthday party invites, most of the time I get them, which is fine.
All good.
That's totally fine. Yeah. And it's, I actually feel bad for him because I feel like 9 times out of 10, it's his weekend, but I will text him. I'm like, here's this invite.
Yep.
I don't know what you have going on. Let me know and I'll RSVP. Yeah. And if you need help, I will come get them. Like I will take them to the party or like, you know, I can pick up the gift or whatever the case may be. Like, again, it's that communication thing too, but like, you know, we just do our best to, you know, figure that out.
Yes. I think that's we've also like just got like, you know, even if it is that person's weekend, like they're still your kids. And if they like need a ride somewhere and the other parent is running all the other kids somewhere, like pitch in.
Yeah. My daughter had a play a couple weeks ago. And so I was going one night, but it was a night that he had the kids. Yeah. And I said, well, I'll just bring her home. Like, I'll just like, there's no reason for you to get the younger one out at like 9 o'clock to come pick her up. Like, I'll just bring her home and, you know, we'll call it a day. And then another night he brought her home. Yes. You know, it's just like, it's
right.
But it is one of those things in the beginning. It's just like, nope, I don't want you to do it. It's mine. I'm going to do it. And then eventually you get to the point where it's just like, yeah, please. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Please.
Thanks for the help.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. This is not, and that like, it is not a job that is meant to be done alone. So if you can get to that positive place with your co-parent, but also to the community, this is like, it is not a job that is meant to be done alone. No. So your help is so appreciated.
Yes.
And like, I mean, truly life-changing.
Yes.
Both for the parents and the kids.
Yes.
The impact that you have on the kids also
is huge. I mean, the way that some of my friends love my kids. Yeah. It's just.
Yeah. I know it, like that gets me good too.
Yes.
Cause I'm like, oh, how lucky are they? I know to have circumstances that they didn't want, but to have that kind of benefit from it is like such a gift.
Yes.
Okay. I like to wrap every episode with like, what are your wishes for women or for the future generation? What are you hoping for all of us?
Yeah. I think it all goes back to, I just don't want people to feel the shame.
Yeah.
I don't want people to feel ashamed, and I want people to know that it will be okay.
Yes.
It's just in the thick of it. It's so bad. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
But don't be ashamed. It doesn't matter what anybody's expectations were, or even your own, really, because you've landed in this spot. There's a reason for it. And it's not really anything to be ashamed of.
No.
And as long as you can work through that and do all those things, like, again, like your kids will be okay. As long as you can just continue to keep them at the center of like all the things that you're doing.
Yes.
As it relates to the co-parent.
Yep.
they will be fine.
Yeah.
It will be hard. They're going to have struggles. And like I said, even 9-10 years out, we still have times where there are breakdowns and they're crying. Yes. And why are you divorced?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
Why?
Yes.
And it's, gut-wrenching.
Literally.
And it'll take you right back, but they will be okay. And you will too.
Yeah. That, like, you are such a beacon of hope. And like, I think it's so true. The sooner you can let go of shame, you can deal, because that's it. Then you can handle your grief. Yeah. Then you can put your kids first. Then like, that is just so stifling. Yeah. And the sooner you can, it takes time, but the sooner you can let go of all the, like, you kind of like, when you get divorced, you kind of hate each other to start. Like,
it's not good.
It's not
Nobody's good.
But like, if you holding on to that resentment for whatever, maybe resentment's probably the better word, but like, it's just complicated. And like, my kids can even hear that, because like, they're going to have relationships and they're going to break up and like, you will know that that's so hard no matter what. But like we were saying before, like, resentment, hate, all those feelings, like feeling that way and like living and dying by that is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die.
Yes.
Let it go.
Yeah.
It takes time, but let it go. It is so liberating. Forgiveness is for you.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have to forget, but also don't just hold it right there.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to be in the forefront.
No,
either.
No. Right. It doesn't. And you've learned so much. You can let go of the fear. Like, sometimes I get afraid, like, what if I forget? And then I've lost the lessons. Like, I've learned. Yeah. You've learned. Yeah. Like, we grew a ton.
Yes.
And we're all doing better.
Totally.
And like, I don't know about you, but like, I am genuinely happy.
Yeah.
I feel
totally. I'm good.
Yeah. I'm happy. I feel like I have such purpose. I feel so deeply connected to my kids. My divorce no longer defines me.
Yes.
It doesn't define my children.
Right.
And like, life is just, it is forever different, but it's moving on.
Yeah. I think you get to the point where, like, when you're in it, it's almost like, at least for me, it was almost a bit of like an out of body, like watching myself, watching myself with the kids type thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But you do get through it. And then I think I feel like more in my body or whatever, present. Yes. And clear on things.
Yeah.
Then I can remember.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, this is so good. I'm so glad you are here. I think, like, just to kind of, because I love me a recap.
Yeah.
It's like, when I think about like, what are our call to actions? Cause we corporate girlies, to be like, find yourself, your community, be open and ask for help, do the work on yourself, continue every single day, hour, minute, second. You need to remind yourself it is about the kids. Don't be afraid to talk about it. Find the people that are hopeful stories and mentors, find your resources, ask for help, and just trust that you will be okay.
Yes.
As will your kids.
100%.
As will your kids.
Yep.
Yeah. Ashley, you're the best.
Likewise.
Thank you for going first. I'm sorry you had to go first, but I was so grateful to have you as a mentor.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I, because of the kindness and the generosity and the love that you gave me when I was going through it, I like very much so take it as my responsibility to those who go through it after me, because I know the impact that you had on me. So I'm very grateful. And I'm so glad you came here.
Yeah.
And thank you for your time. And
Absolutely.
guys, I hope this was helpful for those even who aren't going through it to have more understanding of what your community is going through. I hope it was helpful or validating for anyone in the beginning, middle, or end of divorce or in co-parenting. But I hope this episode, like, I always feel weird being like, share this episode because it feels self-fulfilling, but like this whole podcast is in service of community.
That's right.
Like, I just have to like stop being weird and be like, share this episode.
Share the episode.
I can never stop being weird. Me neither. But like, good company. Share this episode because like we have our whole reason for getting on and talking about this is to help others. So the more people that we can impact and give hope to and give understanding and give permission to, the better. But this is all in service of others. So
absolutely.
Thank you again. Share. Thanks. I am weird.
Nope, not at all. I'll share it.
Yeah. Thanks, girl. Yeah. Samesies. All right, you guys. Absolutely lean into all the advice that we've been given and just keep hanging in there. Yep. All right. Thanks everyone for listening, and we will catch you next time. Well, that's the end of this episode, but promise me you won't stop here with whatever it is you're feeling or dreaming about. I hope you leave today feeling empowered to live life just as you see fit. If this podcast was helpful to you, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on whatever platform you're listening on. I genuinely just want to help women live the life they dream about. So if this type of content tracks with you, subscribe to this podcast or visit our website, writeyourownsstory.co, to download digital courses or to grab a journal and a mug to just dream in and dream with. It's your life, lady. Do you. And just remember, I'm rooting for you and you've totally got this.